History remembers her as the most terrifying woman who ever lived, a name whispered in fear for centuries. But what if the truth is far more complicated, twisted by time, fear, and political ambition? Join us as we plunge into the chilling enigma of Elizabeth Bathory, a figure shrouded in darkness and legend. We'll peel back the layers of myth to investigate the life, the alleged crimes, and the unanswered questions surrounding the woman known as the Blood Countess. Prepare to confront a tale where history itself becomes a weapon, and the line between monster and victim blurs into the fog of the past. In the heart of 16th century Hungary, a name echoed with immense power, wealth, and a lineage steeped in both glory and infamy, Bathory. Born in 156, Elizabeth Bathory arrived into this world not as a commoner, but as a scion of one of the most influential and wealthiest noble families in the Kingdom of Hungary. From the moment she drew her first breath, her destiny was intertwined with privilege, power, and the complex web of European aristocracy. Her childhood was spent not in quaint villages, but within the imposing ancient walls of castles that dotted the Carpathian landscape, each stone humming with centuries of history. These were not just homes, they were fortresses, symbols of her family's unbreakable hold on the region. As a child, Elizabeth was reportedly bright, exceptionally well-educated, and fluent in multiple languages, a testament to the intellectual rigor expected of someone in her position. She was a product of her time and class, groomed from an early age for a life of authority and influence. She learned the intricate dances of court politics, understood the weight of her family name, and was taught that her noble blood set her apart. The Bathory family wasn't just rich, they were titans of their era. They held sway over vast territories, commanded armies, and their connections reached the very highest echelons of European royalty, including the ruling Habsburgs. This wasn't just about money, it was about an inherited legacy of power that few could ever comprehend. Imagine growing up knowing that your very existence commanded respect, fear, and unwavering obedience. This environment, while affording unparalleled luxury and education, also fostered a certain isolation, a detachment from the lives of ordinary people. It cultivated a sense of absolute control, an unyielding belief in one's own divine right to rule. It was within these grand ancient halls, under the shadow of her family's fearsome reputation, that Elizabeth Bathory began her journey, setting the stage for a story that would later shock the world. Elizabeth's path, like that of many noble women of her time, was largely predetermined by the strategic alliances of her family. At just 15 years old in 1575, she was married to Ferenc Nadasdy, a powerful Hungarian count and a formidable military commander, known as the Black Knight of Hungary. This wasn't a love match in the romantic sense, but a powerful merging of two elite families designed to consolidate wealth, land, and political influence. Nadasdy was often away at war, fighting against the Ottoman Empire, a constant and brutal threat to the Hungarian borders. This frequent absence had an unexpected consequence. It thrust Elizabeth into a position of extraordinary authority. While her husband was on the battlefield, Elizabeth was left in charge of their sprawling estates, an immense domain that encompassed multiple castles, villages, and thousands of serfs. She became the undisputed mistress of her vast holdings, making critical decisions regarding administration, justice, and the day-to-day lives of everyone under her command. This responsibility, far from being a mere placeholder role, allowed Elizabeth to hone her administrative skills and exert considerable influence. She managed the finances, oversaw agriculture, and even dealt with local disputes, effectively acting as a regional sovereign. Her word was law within her territories. This period undoubtedly shaped her, reinforcing the sense of absolute power she had inherited. She grew accustomed to obedience, to seeing her will enacted without question. This growing authority, however, came with a deepening isolation. Surrounded by servants and retainers, yet separated by her noble status, her life became a gilded cage of power. The absence of her husband meant a lack of a direct male figure above her, leaving her in an unprecedented position for a woman of her era. It was in this environment, where her authority was unquestioned and her world self-contained, that the first chilling whispers would begin to emerge from the shadows of her castles, For years, life at the Bothery estates, particularly at her main residence, Sekiate Castle, continued under Elizabeth's formidable hand. But as the 17th century dawned, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. Servants, particularly young peasant girls recruited from the surrounding villages, started to vanish. At first, these disappearances were easily dismissed. Life for serfs was hard, and people often moved, or succumbed to illness, or even fled the harsh conditions. But the frequency grew, and the stories accompanying them became increasingly unsettling. Whispers began to circulate among the local populace, tales of unusual cruelty inflicted upon the servants within the castle walls. Stories spoke of girls being beaten for minor infractions, of harsh punishments that went far beyond the norm for the time. These weren't just the ordinary discipline expected in a noble household. These were accounts that hinted at something darker, a chilling sadism. Fear permeated the villages surrounding Sekiate, as parents grew increasingly reluctant to send their daughters to work for the countess, despite the economic need. Was it just idle gossip fueled by superstition and the natural fear of powerful nobility? Or was there something genuinely sinister unfolding behind the castle gates? People were afraid to speak openly, knowing the immense power she wielded and the potential consequences of defying her. So the stories remained, whispers carried on the wind, growing more twisted and macabre with each retelling. They painted a picture of a woman losing control, of a household where fear was the primary currency. These were the early tremors before the earthquake, the subtle shifts in the ground before the abyss opened up. But that's not the strangest part. The rumors would soon become full-blown accusations, and a legend would be born, one so horrifying it would stain her name forever, a legend steeped in blood. The whispers, however faint, couldn't be contained forever. By 1610, they had grown too loud, too persistent, and too shocking to ignore. The sheer volume of missing girls, coupled with the increasingly gruesome details leaking from the castle, finally reached the ears of high-ranking officials. The individual who took action was none other than György Thurzo, the Palatine of Hungary, a powerful nobleman, and Elizabeth Bathory's own cousin. An investigation was officially launched, a move of extraordinary boldness given Bathory's immense influence and family connections. What followed was a chilling inquiry, involving hundreds of witness testimonies, from former servants, family members of the disappeared, and even those who had managed to escape safe to castle. The accounts painted a horrifying, almost unbelievable picture. Witnesses described years of torture, girls beaten with whips and rods until they died, needles driven under fingernails, bodies frozen naked in the snow, others smeared with honey and left to be devoured by insects. Some spoke of her biting the flesh of her victims, others of her burning them with hot irons. The sheer inventiveness of the cruelty was beyond imagination. It was during these testimonies that the most infamous and enduring legend surrounding Elizabeth Bathory truly took hold, the claim that she bathed in the blood of virgins. According to some of these accounts, Elizabeth believed that bathing in the blood of young women would preserve her youth and beauty. This particular detail, while never fully substantiated with physical evidence, and often seen by historians as a later embellishment or a misunderstanding of ritualistic practices, captured the public imagination like no other. It cemented her image as the Blood Countess, a vampiric figure driven by grotesque vanity. The accusations created an impossible dilemma. Could one woman, even a powerful noble, be capable of such depravity? Or were these tales perhaps exaggerated by fear, fueled by hysteria, or even manipulated for other purposes? The investigations detailed over 600 victims, a number that, if true, would make her one of history's most prolific serial killers. But how much of it was truth, and how much was the terrifying power of human fear and rumor? The tension mounted with each new testimony, each gruesome detail adding another brushstroke to the portrait of a monster, leading everyone to wonder, was it myth, or a horrifying truth? The world held its breath, awaiting the climax of this dark saga. The weight of the testimonies, however sensational, became undeniable. On December 29, 1610, György Thurzo led an armed contingent directly to Safety Castle. The raid was swift and decisive. According to Thurzo's own letter upon entering the castle, His men discovered bodies of dead girls and others still alive, but terribly mutilated in near death. This discovery, if true, provided concrete evidence to back up the horrifying witness accounts. Elizabeth Bathory was immediately arrested and placed under house arrest within her own castle. The subsequent legal proceedings were complex and highly unusual, largely due to Bathory's noble status. While her alleged co-conspirators, 4 of her servants and a local witch, were arrested, tortured, and put on trial, Elizabeth herself never faced a formal public trial. This was a crucial point, highlighting the deep political machinations at play. In January 1611, the trial of her servants commenced in sight. Under excruciating torture, they confessed to assisting Bathory in the torture and murder of hundreds of girls. Their confessions, however coerced, detailed the gruesome methods and the sheer scale of the atrocities. 3 of them were executed, 2 burned alive, and 1 beheaded, while another was imprisoned for life. Elizabeth Bathory, however, faced a different fate. Due to her family's immense power and her aristocratic standing, executing her or subjecting her to a public trial would have been a catastrophic scandal, potentially destabilizing the entire region and disgracing the powerful Bathory name. Instead, a more discreet, politically palatable solution was found. She was imprisoned for life within her own castle, confined to a suite of rooms, effectively walled into an existence of isolation and silence. She was not executed, but she was never seen by the outside world again. The official reason for this leniency was her noble birthright, but the unspoken truth was the intricate web of political power that protected her, even in the face of such monstrous accusations. Her downfall was not a public spectacle, but a quiet, almost secret removal from the public eye, a testament to the influence that money and connections held, even over justice itself. For centuries, the image of Elizabeth Bathory as the Blood Countess has been etched into history, a sadistic killer, a vampire-like figure, driven by a perverse desire for eternal youth. It's a story that's chilling, captivating, and for many, entirely convincing. But what if that widely accepted truth is in fact a carefully constructed narrative, a historical smear campaign designed to eliminate a powerful adversary? This is where the story of Elizabeth Bathory takes a sharp, unsettling turn. The lack of direct, tangible physical evidence against her is a glaring anomaly. While her servants confessed under torture, Elizabeth herself was never interrogated or allowed to present a defense. No formal trial was ever held for her. This absence of due process, even by the standards of the time, raises serious red flags. Could the accounts of the castle raid where bodies were supposedly found have been exaggerated or even fabricated by her accuser, Georgi Thurzo? Thurzo himself owed a significant debt to Elizabeth, and seizing her lands would have been a convenient way to settle it. Beyond that, the Bathory family, while powerful, also had many rivals who would have relished seeing their name tarnished and their influence diminished. The accusations of witchcraft and depravity were often used as convenient tools to disempower women and seize their assets. Could the blood-bathing legend have been a masterful piece of propaganda, designed to demonize her so completely that no one would dare question her guilt? Elizabeth Bathory's story continues to haunt the annals of history, a dark mirror reflecting our deepest fears and our most ingrained prejudices. Historians still grapple with the ambiguities, the missing pieces, and the overwhelming political motivations that surrounded her downfall. Her story still divides historians today, sparking endless debate and fascination. Subscribe to Foxhole History.